Hello everyone, and welcome to another segment of our video tutorial on how to create Red Team Cyber Range Lab. In our previous video, we created a gateway which will serve as a device or as a glue or as a bridge to allow traffic or to route traffic among and between devices from different subnets and different domains. And this is how we got to at this last time at that point. In this video we are going to create our first domain, or the root forest primary domain controller, which is going to be something that we build upon to build other machines and even other subdomains. So this is the overview of how our primary domain controller for the afro.local domain is going to be, or the forest is going to be. So let us jump right into it with the demo setup. And let me drag this on the side. And bring the lab back. And as you can see, I went ahead and created the PDC01 as the machine which will become the domain controller for the afro.local. We still have the gateway running because it's supposed to give us an IP address at the initial stages of stuff, and also to route our information or traffic. So before we begin, we need to assign an IP address, or at least interface a subnet to the domain controller. So we would go to edit, and then go to, oh, no, my bad, sorry, we will go to VMware, go to settings, and we will click on add and select the network adapter, and then finish. And then we'll come to custom, and we have the forest pre-selected. We also have the GH, and we have extra. If you don't know what these stand for or what these mean, I would encourage you to go back to the previous videos on how we actually created these subnets. All right, so we'll click OK. So this would assign, this machine would get an IP address from the gateway automatically. All right, so now that we have that up, let us confirm first of all if we've been issued an IP address. Let me increase the font size. Make sure wrap text output on resize is selected. Okay, and let's check the IP address. So the domain controller has been given an IP address of 10.10.2.4. all right, now this is assigned from the DHCP server from the gateway. What we want to do is we want to make this IP address static. So let's go to server manager, select local server, and let's select the Ethernet 0. Right click on Ethernet 0, and let's select properties, and let's turn off IPv6. Let us select the IPv4 properties, and here we are going to assign the IP address from our labs setup. This is going to be 10.10.2.10. And just to make it appear the way it was issued at first, let's update the subnet mask. It wouldn't make any difference, and I know there's a wrong way to do it, but for the sake of this lab, it should be okay to have the 255.255.255 set up. Now we are going to assign the gateway, which is going to be the first IP address of this router or the gateway, right? And from our previous configuration, we had that as 10.10.2.2. And because we are going to make this machine is going to be a domain controller and also a DNS server, we should make it its first DNS server should be itself. For now, we will leave everything as it is right now, and we can click OK, and we can click close, and it's still identifying here once we close it, and we can click yes here, and we are done with setting up the static IP address. The next one is, which I already went ahead and did. If you haven't named your computer, you can name it appropriately according to how you want it. Okay, once you have renamed your computer, which I have shown in a previous video, you would have to reboot the computer. And once that is done, we are going to assign role to this server. So we go to the dashboard and select on add roles and features, and we will just click next to continue, and then we'll select the role based or feature based installation and click next, and we will have this selected here, and then we'll click next. And now here is where we'll select the roles. In this case, we are going to select Active Directory Domain Services. You will click add feature, and also we wouldn't want our domain systems to obtain IP address from the gateway. We want the domain, any machine that joins this domain, to obtain an IP address from this server. In order to accomplish that, we need to assign this server a role of Dhcp, and then we'll configure and then give a range of IP addresses that this machine should provide as a Dhcp server. All right, and it says validation process found problems on the server to which you want to install features. Click continue to install the selected feature anyway, or click cancel to select different feature. All right, so no static IP address were found on this computer if the changes happen. All right, so let us click continue. I think it hasn't registered a static IP address yet. So in your case, you may not have this error. In fact, I haven't actually had this warning before. So let's check the IP address. Okay, it has been assigned to it, so it was just a bogus warning. So we can go ahead, and we would also select the DNS server role, and those, and then we'll click continue. And these three services should be good enough for now. In the future, if we need to add any role or features to the server, we can always come back and do that. But for now, let's stick with this, and then let's keep clicking next, and let's click next, and let's click restart the destination server automatically if required, and we click install. Now this is going to take some time to install it, so I'll pause the video and I'll get back once we have it the installation process completed. Okay, welcome back. It looks like the installation was successful, and we may need configuration done. So let's click close, and then let's come to notification, and you can see these are the post configurations that need to be done. So let's do the first one for the Dhcp. We'll click on that, and it's very easy. It's just a quick walkthrough of clicking commit, and we're done. The next one is to promote this domain controller, this machine, to a domain controller. So let's click that. Now our first question is going to be select the deployment operation. The first one is whenever we have an existing domain name. In this case, we do not. The second one was to add domain to an existing forest, which we don't. So the third option happens to be the appropriate one for us because it's the first forest we're creating. Yeah, so in our case, we had it as afro.local. You can name yours anyhow you want it. Now click next. And the functional level of the new forest or root domain, let's bring it down to 2012. All right, and let's set up the DSRM password. Okay, hope I got a password right. Okay, and then let's click next, and it's going to get the net BIOS name for us. Okay, and it's going to be Afro, so we click next, and hopefully we don't get any errors. Okay, again, okay, here is going through the verifying prerequisites to make sure that we have everything that we need for the installation. So our fingers crossed we don't get any error. Okay, everything went through good, so we are good to make the installation. Okay, so we'll click install, and again I'll come back once we are done with the installation or the promotion. Okay, so it looks like the installation was done, and it's going to automatically restart the computer. So let's give it some time. Okay, welcome back. So it has rebooted, and this will be our first login prompt. So let's put in the password for the admin, and now it's logging in as a domain account. Previously, before we created a domain, the forest for this, it was logged in as a local user. Now that we have promoted the server to a domain controller, and now we have a domain established, now we are logging in as a domain user. Okay, so here we are, and let this settle down. Okay, so these are the services that we did add: the ADDS, Dhcp, and DNS. So we actually need to go to tools, and let's create a scope for the Dhcp so that when a new machine joins this domain called afro.local, an IP address will be issued to that machine coming from this forest domain controller. All right, so we'll click on this, and then we'll just we'll click on IPv4 and right click on IPv4, and we'll create new scope. It doesn't matter whatever name you choose for, so we'll just type forest scope, and the starting IP address, I am going to have it as 10.10.2.200 and 10.10.2.250. This is not going to be a bigger lab or bigger infrastructure, so we can assign up to 50 IP addresses to machines that connect to or join this forest domain. Okay, so the first machine which joins in would actually be assigned the 10.10.2.200. Okay, and I think we're not going to do any exclusion. The lease is going to be for 8 days. Yes, we'll configure the DHCP options now, and the default route or the default gateway, we can actually do that right now. We know that already, so that will be assigned to the machines when they obtain DHCP information. And we already have the parent domain name is here, and the DNS has already been assigned here. Okay, we'll click next. We want to activate it right now, and then we are finished with DHCP scope. Next is let's create a user and test how things are working. So we go to Active Directory user and computers, and we have the domain here. We have users here, and we can right click on it, go to new, go to user, and you can pick any user you want. Kwame Nkrumah will be my first username, and the user logon name, I would have the first initial and the last name as my naming scheme or the naming convention. So it's going to be K and then Nkrumah. I'll click next and I'll set a password. User must change password at next login. We'll uncheck that, and then I'll say user cannot change password for now. Yes, let us do that, and the password never expires. Okay. Again, these are just optional. You can decide whatever you want to do, but for now I want to keep it this way, and I'll click next and I'll click finish, and let me create a few more users. And I would also demonstrate how we can create mass users, but we'll do that in a child domain environment, since that would have more users will be populating. Okay, so now I'll go here and I'll join Julius Nyerere. Okay. Again, it will be JNYERERE, Julius Nyerere. Okay, and I'll create a password for Julius. And the same, we will not change the password, and the user cannot change it, and it doesn't expire. And I'll add one more user. And that'll be Thomas Sankara, T Sankara. Okay, and I'll create a password for Thomas Sankara too. Okay, and see the settings. Okay, so now we have 3 users created. So far, let's recap on what we've done so far. So on this machine, or in this video so far, we have created a domain name. Well, first of all, we did make this machine a domain controller called PDC01. We promoted it to domain controller, yes, and we created a forest called afro.local. We did create a DHCP scope, which is going to assign IP address to host machines that join this domain. And also we have created 3 users, Kwame Nkrumah, Julius Nyerere, and Thomas Sankara. So the next goal is to actually test and see if we can actually connect or join a workstation to this domain. All right, so I have one machine here called desk 0. So we are going to join that machine to the domain, but before we do that, as you can see, it doesn't have any network interface or anything assigned to it in a network wise. So we can click on edit, add, and let's add it to the forest interface. Okay. All right. Let's power it up and I'll be right back. So we are logging to our Desk01 workstation, and we are going to do some work to join it to the afro.local domain name. But before that, let's make some few modification to our network information. So we can go to the Ethernet and click on Network and Sharing Center. And let's click on Ethernet and let's click on Properties. Okay. And we are going to only, okay, let me close this out. Let me clean this out actually. We would not need this for now. I think this is coming from an old setup. Okay. Oh yeah, this was coming from when we first did our connectivity test with the gateway. But for now, before we can actually join this to the domain, we need to just provide it with a DNS, which is going to be the domain controller. And the reason why we need a DNS server is because when we try to join it, we need a server which will do a name resolution. And if we don't have a DNS server that points to the domain controller, it is going to fail. All right. So let's click OK for now. And oh yeah, let's make this automatically. Okay. And let's click OK and close, and let's close out completely. Next is let us try and see if we can join it. Let's go to Properties and let's click on Change Settings under the computer name, domain, and workgroup settings. And if you haven't already, I have renamed mine to Desk01, and we are going to change here. Click on Change, and we have the work group and we have domain. So we are going to click on domain, and we are going to provide it with a domain name, which is afro.local, and we will click OK. And if everything works correctly, like I said, name resolution, because of the DNS server, we will have this. So we are going to log in as the admin because that user has privileges to add a computer to the domain. Actually, by default, any user on the domain, Windows domain environment, can add computers up to 10. And I think in the future, we will discuss about how we can abuse that functionality. But for now, let's click OK. And let's see if we get lucky. So we get welcome to the afro.local domain. So that means we have successfully connected, or we have successfully been able to join our Desk01 to the domain, which is the afro.local. And I'm going to pause it and I'll be right back once we restart. So we are at the login prompt where we can log in with a domain user. So let us try to use, let's say, Julius Nyerere. So Jnyerere. Nyerere. Okay. And I hope I got the password right. So we have been able to log in to the Desk01 with a domain name, which is Julius Nyerere, and that is fantastic. So let me actually click here to make sure that we have that user. Let's go back to the domain controller and let's also check and see. And we have a confirmation that this machine has been joined to the domain, which is good. And if I do who am I, we have domain and we are joined here. So for a quick recap of what we've done so far, and let me actually take a snapshot of this, which is something that you should be doing most of the time when you achieve or do something significant. Put a snapshot on that. So here I will call it, let's say, after domain join. Okay, oh, yeah, something like that. But in any case, so let's recap what we've done so far in this video. So we did create this machine, which is the PDC01. We made it the domain controller, and we did create a new domain or a new forest called afro.local. We were able to assign, create an DHCP scope IP address range. We created 3 users in the domain, and we were able to join 1 workstation to the domain and also authenticated to it to make sure that it was actually possible, or we had been able to add or join a workstation into the domain, which is called the afro.local. So I hope you learn 1 or 2 from this video and you like it. I would say leave your feedback, your suggestions, your recommendations, and I'll continue to do this. As like I said, we have a plan. So in the next video, we'll do something different. All right. I hope you like and enjoy this video, and you have yourself a blessed day. Bye bye.